Hey everybody, it's Adam from Ham's Anime World. So, what you're about to see is a conversation I recorded with Tiffany Grant, who plays Asuka in Evangelion, last week. We recorded it for the 25th anniversary of the show. We talked about the influence that Ava has had on pop culture. We talked about Ava merchandise. We talked about the new films and a whole bit more. So,
everybody, so this is the Ava 25th anniversary special, and as you can see, my guest is Tiffany Grant to talk about this show, which I'm sure it feels like you've been talking about this show forever. I would have thought.
Does it feels pretty much every day of 25 years, although for me, technically, even though we're at the 25th anniversary of like the first air date, for me, it hasn't been technically 25 years.
So we've got a lot to cover and not a load of time to cover it. So I want to talk more about sort of the impact that you feel that the show has had just generally on both yourself and, like, I guess, pop culture in general. Over the 25 years of the show, because you can see the influence of the show in a lot of things. So obviously, because I wasn't old enough to be watching the show or even know about the show when it was first broadcasting. So what was it like being around in the industry and seeing the show like taking off and getting a fan base and getting that following?
Yeah, it's so surreal, to be honest with you. It's weird. I think about this from time to time. I mean, it's not my constant pervasive thought, but I do think about it a lot. It's really weird because most of like my day-to-day life of just, forget like during the pandemic, it's crazy. But, like my normal day-to-day life for most of the last 20 plus years, just, living a normal life and going to the grocery store. And then there's that juxtaposed with going to conventions and people wanting autographs. I actually, about a little over a month ago, I was in a grocery store. It was actually a Walmart. That a guy stopped me in the Walmart and said, "Aren't you Tiffany Grant?" I got recognized there. And of course, everybody's wearing masks now. And so I had my mask on, and I said, "Yes, but I'm in disguise." But I don't know. It's weird to me because I only have my perspective of doing it, like playing Asuka and being Asuka, and how closely I feel associated with her character, that it's just absolutely an integral part of who I am at this point. It's part of my life, part of my being. But then at the same time, it's really surreal to me to see like the influence, like you were saying, of Evangelion on pop culture, and just seeing the people all over the world that create, memes or just artwork or different, like a take of something, or like, the opening theme, Cruel Angel's Thesis, best anime opening song ever, be played on a calculator or a kazoo, or, just, it's so pervasive in the culture now in ways that I never could have imagined that it would be. So it's, I don't know, it's just really crazy. Somebody the other day in my Facebook group posted a picture of Tony Hawk. If people don't know, he's like the godlike figure of skateboarding. Anyway, but he's this huge, like iconic figure in pop culture and skateboarding, and it's a picture. I don't know if it's from his Instagram or whatever, but he's clearly he's gaming, or he's looking at something on his computer, and behind him there's various items, not a lot, maybe like, it's not like a packed shelf of things, but one of the things behind him on a shelf is a statue of Asuka.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
And I thought, oh my gosh, Tony Hawk has and it's a figure that I have too. It's an old one. It's one that's like more than 20 years old, and it was a pretty expensive one also. But just, little stuff like that, and I don't know. It's just been crazy to me, the way Evangelion has permeated pop culture. And I mean, to a certain extent around the world, not anywhere as much as it has in Japan. I mean, in Japan, it's just literally everywhere. When I try to describe it to people who are like non-anime fans, I will say, like, anybody in Japan, if you were like 100-year-old lady living in a rural village with no electricity in Japan, you would still know what Evangelion is. It's like that much in the pop culture there. It's everywhere. So, wow, I don't even know if I answered the question or not, but it's bizarre. It's a strange thing to be part of something that's like that. And you can't predict it. Like, we didn't know 25 years ago. We didn't know it was going to be this. No one, if you could make something be this, then it wouldn't be exceptional.
No, exactly. It is. You see it like you say. You don't see it so much in the West, but you see, like, I've seen videos from Japan and pictures, and it is literally, as you say, it's everywhere. There's like collaborations. I've seen Ava collaborations with pretty much everything.
Yeah.
With, like, food. There was like a anime about, I think it was a kids anime about trains or something.
Oh yeah. Right.
And Ava was in it, and they had like Asuka and Rei and Shinji show up in the show.
Exactly. The trains are like a modification. Like, the trains are like the Ava units. The trains are like the unit 1, unit 2, whatever. Yeah, I know. It's just everywhere. And you think about, so it's been out for basically 25 years now, and so there's a whole generation of kids, particularly in Japan, who have grown up with that just being in the background, being part of their lives. One of the things I try to equate it to people in the West, again, people who are not really familiar with anime, is in a lot of ways, it's kind of like Star Trek, where, people who don't watch Star Trek, or not into science fiction, like my best friend, believe it or not, he like doesn't ever watch Star Trek. He's not into that. But still, I mean, he knows what it is. He knows who Captain Kirk is. It's like, you still know what it is. You're still aware of it, even if it's something that you don't see, because it's that much in the pop culture.
You see it everywhere. I mean, I've been to countless conventions where you see Ava cosplay, you see people cosplaying in the plug suits and things, and I think and cosplaying, I think what you could call maybe casual Shinji, if you will, is really easy, really.
Yeah.
Because it's just a white shirt, black,
and he's got the blue T-shirt on underneath it, and the black pants, and if you want to go just a teeny bit further, you'll have a Walkman. I mean, technically it was a Dat Man in the show, but I mean, who has a Dat Man? So yeah, if you want to, just go a little bit further, you could have a Walkman. But yeah, it's a pretty basic costume. And then there's been so many figures of the characters over the years. So people will cosplay as an Asuka figure or a Rei figure, and it's an outfit that they're wearing that was never even in the anime. But people will cosplay that. So yeah, it's next level.
It is absolutely crazy. Now, you're known for having quite a big collection of Asuka merchandise.
Yes.
You've got some behind you there, and there's quite a well-known video of yourself. It's quite old now, but it's a video of you showing your Asuka merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
What is, like, how did that video come about? Did you just do it because you wanted to do it, or were you asked to do it? Or
yes, I was asked to do it. The platinum version of Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the TV series, came out about 2004, and so the entire show, the audio and video were remastered for that release. And then additionally, what they wanted to do was for the Western release, for the English version, was to put like loads of extra features on there. So commentary tracks and, you know, all different kinds of like behind the scenes stuff. They wanted to really build in a lot of this extra material into that. And so Matt Greenfield, he was the original, you know, writer, director, producer for the English language version of the show. And of course, he knew about my vast Asuka collection, and he thought that would be kind of a cool extra to put on one of the DVDs. And it's called The Little Red-Haired Girl, which, if people don't know, that's actually kind of it's a play on Charlie Brown. So in the Peanuts comic strips and cartoons, Charlie Brown has a crush on this little red-haired girl. Anyway, so it's kind of a play on that. But yeah, so that's how that whole video came about with my collection back then. But that was 2004, and it grew a lot since then. Although I can tell you, a couple of years ago, I moved, and right now most of it is still packed away. I actually moved into quite a small house, and I really don't know exactly where to put all of it at this point. But there is a lot. You know, I did have at one point sort of that Pokemon attitude of you gotta catch them all, but it kept growing to an extent of like, okay, well, that's never going to be possible to have everything. You can't have everything. They're constantly making new stuff that gets more and more high end, more expensive. You know, it's really that, and that's another thing, that's the aspect of it that's so crazy about it, the merchandising, which I think is almost unparalleled for any other anime that I know of.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like you say, there's just constantly like figures coming out, different bits of merchandising, like really crazy merchandising, like really like things that you think, oh, how can they fit Ava into that? You know, and they still find a way to put it in there. I mean, I know I saw recently that they're still producing the figures, and like there's like the new version of the figures for this year, and it's the versions of the characters from the new movies. It's, you know, it's Asuka with, you know, with her eye patch and all that sort of stuff, you know, and it's just they're constantly evolving it. So you've got like the newest version of the character from whatever is most recent.
Right. And there's a YouTuber called Red Bard who put out a video a little over a year ago called "Can You Live Entirely Off Evangelion Merchandise?" or something like that. And you can, as a matter of fact, and it's a really worthwhile video watching, because you see all of this stuff that's incredible, like you know, like shampoos and soaps and just all of your sort of health and beauty items. And I personally own a bottle of Asuka branded eye drops.
Oh, really? Wow. They literally have everything going on.
Yeah,
with the merchandise.
Much anything you could ever want. There is an Evangelion version of it. So yeah, I don't think that they've missed a step. They're all about the merchandising.
And sometimes I know with the collaborations with things, they often repeat collaborations, because I think that a few years ago, maybe when the third movie came out, or just before the third movie came out, there was a collaboration with like a shaving brand or something.
Oh, yeah, Schick. I've got an Asuka Schick combo pack. It's a razor and a shaving cream. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll repeat it and do it again later on. So, like you said, you've got a big collection of Asuka merchandise. So you've still kept collecting it even after.
Yes, I have. Yeah. I haven't continued necessarily collecting it quite as vigorously as I once did. Because like I said, it really, there was a point where I would think, oh, I don't have that one. I'll get this one. I'll get this one. I mean, I would, honest to God, there would be a figure that would come out of Asuka in a bathing suit. And what they would do is release that exact same figure, but here she is in a white bathing suit, and then a yellow bathing suit, and a pink bathing suit, and a red bathing suit. And, you know, so I would buy like the same figure, but just slightly different, you know, like this one's red. Oh, but that one seems like it's a little bit different shade of red on that bathing suit, you know. So I've been known to do that on many occasions. And then there'll be one that's like really rare, that there's like a famous one of Asuka in a French maid dress, and so she's in red, black, yellow, and pink. I think the yellow one is the ultra rare. Well, I have all of them.
I have there's a great, I want to call it almost like an encyclopedia. Mm-hmm. It's called the Evangelion Chronicle, and it's this massive book, and it's like got all descriptions of like detailed descriptions of like everything. It's like the relationships between the characters, history of Nerve, and it's got like and in the back of it, it's got this list of just Ava merch, and it is like figures, DVDs, like little models of the Ava units, just loads and loads of stuff. Yeah. So you've got like the rare stuff, like the really rare stuff as well. So coming up on the 25th anniversary, when this goes out, it will be the 25th anniversary, but we're recording it a bit ahead of time. So about a week to go, I think, before it. For the 20th anniversary, which was 5 years ago already, which it doesn't feel like it was 5 years ago already. Do you do anything yourself to mark the anniversaries of the show, or do you just let it go by?
I mean, I haven't really personally, unless, you know, I'm at a convention or something. I mean, a lot of times that will happen. And I think, you know, if it weren't for, you know, obviously for the pandemic happening right now, I had a lot of convention appearances that I was scheduled to do this year. And actually the very last convention that I did do, which was in March, I did 2 conventions in Australia, in Melbourne and in Gold Coast. And that was with Amanda Wynn Lee and Spike Spencer, who of course are Ray and Shinji. And we did those 2 conventions together, and then like the entire world shut down. But we were all supposed to appear again in June in Sydney and in Perth. So as of right now, we are all scheduled to appear together next June in Sydney and Perth. So we hope.
Hopefully you'll be able to do that. That'd be cool.
Do that. We don't know yet, but yeah. So I mean, that is like really the kind of thing that I would be doing usually to mark those types of anniversaries, is that I would be invited to appear somewhere, and that did happen for the 20th anniversary. There were some convention appearances that I did that were specifically linked to the idea of it being the anniversary, and that, you know, was the case for this year, but kind of the lost year of conventions.
Well, I know a lot of conventions have been doing like online versions, haven't they? And that sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know, a couple of those. How is doing that? I'm assuming it's a bit like this, I would imagine, or like some sort of pre-recorded thing, or like this.
Well, we were live streaming. It's so different because, of course, you're in your own home. You know, I normally would travel somewhere, very often on a plane. I would normally be at a place where I'm actually amongst all of the fans, and so it's very different. And then, of course, also doing a live streaming thing where I'm here sitting in front of my computer, I can't see all the people, so I have no sense at all of how many people are watching it or what their reactions are or the feedback. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like doing the recordings, because when we're dubbing an anime, there aren't a bunch of people there. It's just the voice actor inside the little recording booth, and then in the outside part of the studio, you've got the sound engineer and the director, and that's it. So it kind of harkens back to that. It's like a full circle thing.
Oh, cool. So, I mean, I don't know how much longer we're going to have to do conventions and things like that, but
yeah,
hopefully it won't be for too much longer. But
hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I remember what I did for the 20th anniversary, and I've never told this story before, and it's it's kind of funny.
Do tell.
For the 20th anniversary, I tried to do, and it was such a fail at the end. I tried to basically do like a fan dub of all of like Shinji's lines from the show, and I tried so hard to make it sound like Spike, but it was nothing like him at all. It was shocking. It was awful. I think I did and it took so long as well. It was like, because my initial plan was to do like the whole show.
Very ambitious of you, by the way.
Very ambitious, but in the end, it only ended up being the first episode. I only ended up doing the first episode, and it was yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't great because I sound nothing like Spike, and I can't do anything.
No
like
one's
that.
Spike. I don't know anybody who sounds like Spike. I mean, it's true. I don't know anybody who sounds like him.
Have you ever heard anyone who can recreate your version of Asuka yourself?
I've heard people that I thought were pretty close. I mean, I don't want to fully go there, but I have listened to some clips from the Netflix dub, and Stephanie sounded a lot like me in some of the parts that I heard.
That's one thing that I did hear people saying was we're not really going to go too much into the Netflix version. But
I'm not trying to cast shade on anybody, but when the parts of it I heard, the first thing I thought was they're doing impressions of us. I mean, that's what it sounded like to me.
I will say I don't want to go too much into it, but when that Netflix version of the show did come out, the dub version of it did get a lot of flack. Lot of flack. I think it's undeserving flack personally, because I think they did quite a good job personally. But yeah, I know what you mean. There were a lot of people who were saying that, especially not so much Casey, but Stephanie especially. They were saying, "Oh, Stephanie's just trying to do an impression of Tiffany. It just doesn't sound great." It's just like, what's going on? But I mean, that's that.
Here's an interesting thing. It kind of loops back around to an earlier question. This was, I've been to a lot of conventions. I've watched a lot of cosplay competitions, and a sort of a revelatory moment for me. This was many years ago, but I was, watching a sketch that was an Evangelion sketch, and it struck me that when I was watching these cosplayers and they're doing their sketch and they're portraying Asuka, Shinji, Misato, whatever. And I'm listening to this girl dressed as Asuka, and I thought, she's doing an impression of me. That was so weird to think about that, because I'm thinking like, she's, playing Asuka for this sketch. But then when it really sunk in to think like, well, what does that mean, playing Asuka? Oh, it's me. She's doing an impression of me. So that was weird. It's weird thinking about somebody doing an impression of me. It's just a weird thing.
It might be the same for the Japanese fans. They might try and do an impression of the way that Miyamura does it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think you would, because that's your version of the character. I mean, it only makes sense if you were people who are doing a Bart Simpson impression. They're all impersonating Nancy Cartwright. I mean, it's just de facto, because that's who that character is to you. It's like however you've heard that character, that's how they are, you know. Or I mean, if you speak a different language, you're doing an impression of whoever voices Bart Simpson in, you know, Spanish or French or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yes. So we were supposed to have a new movie out by now, weren't
Yeah.
we?
Uh-huh.
We were supposed to have the final movie out now, and obviously it's been delayed for, you know, reasons which we are aware of. I mean, I don't know how much you've been keeping track of how progress is going with the movie, but it's weird to think in a way that there is like a completed film sitting somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the film's finished. The film is finished.
I mean, it should be finished. Yeah. I mean, it absolutely should be finished. Yeah, it was supposed to come out in like June or something, June or July. I can't remember now, but yeah, months ago it was supposed to come out. They had announced the date, and then it got pushed back, I think, to November. And now I don't know if that's going to happen in November or what they're going to do. I have no idea. No one fills me in on this information, Mike.
No,
no. I don't know anything more than it is available to the public. I know people assume I must have some inside secret knowledge, and I do not.
No. One of the questions, and I'm sure you've got this at conventions a lot since the third movie came out, and I'm hoping in the final movie that we're gonna get. But you know what Anno's like. Sometimes he'll tell you things, and sometimes he will just leave it completely ambiguous. I think what a lot of fans want to know, and what a lot of fans is what yeah. Well, it's what's going on with Asuka's eye patch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I guess what was the answer? None of your damn business. So
that's what she says in the show, because I think Shinji asks that exact question, doesn't he, in the movie?
And the answer is, well, in the original dub, I will tell you the answer was none of your goddamn business. But then we had to go back and change almost everything, so it was none of your damn business. But yeah, that's exactly everything we know about Asuka's eye and her eye patch. None of your damn business.
One of the most interesting lines for me in that movie was right at the very end, where Asuka's with Rei and Shinji, and they're walking across the ruins, and she says one thing, and she says, I think Shinji says something like, "Oh, where are we going?" And Asuka says that, "Oh, we're going to where the Lilin are." And I would think, because the only other person I've heard say that was Karu in the original series.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, yeah.
Oh, okay, because you froze right as you were saying, and then Asuka says, and I'm like, well, you better tell me, because I don't remember I did that 6 years ago.
Oh, right. Oh, I was going to say, well,
what did
Asuka
I
say? Says that, so Shinji says, "Oh, where are we going?" And Asuka says, "We're going to where the Lilin are."
Oh, okay.
And I thought that was I was thinking, well, why would Asuka refer to them like that? Because that doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like something that she would say.
No, it doesn't seem like something that she would say. But then again, you know, this is a different version of Asuka. This is Shikinami. This is not Soryu. Plus 14 years have passed, and a lot of shit went down. So we don't know what happened, but like a lot of stuff has happened in the last 14 years. And so presumably Asuka now knows a lot of things that she didn't know before. I mean, it's not something that Soryu Asuka would have ever said. But I mean, obviously I said it, but that doesn't mean I know what it means. So
no.
We'll find out what it means.
Well, hopefully we'll find out what it
Hopefully we'll find out. Yeah, I thought we were going to find out, you know, more about Mari Illustrious Makanami. I thought we were going to find out who she was and what her deal is. And
that was probably one of the most disappointing things about that third movie, because they built Mari up so much in the second one,
right,
as a really interesting character. You're thinking, is she working for Sele? Is she, what is going on? Is she like
some double agent? Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And
yeah.
then you get to the third movie and they don't really do anything with her. It's like, or unless it, again, like you say, unless it's just something that we don't know about yet.
Yeah. Or my personal opinion is that she's a Meganiko character. That's girls with glasses, so that's a fetish. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe.
Character, so.
I don't know. It might be. It might be. So
merchandising items. I know.
It's a very interesting time for the series as a whole, because I think obviously the original plan was to have the movie out
right
for the year of the anniversary of the show.
Of course, yeah.
We don't know when we're going to get it now. I mean, we've been waiting a long time for the movie.
We've been waiting a long time anyway, because the first two came out pretty quickly. I think 2007 and 2009, the first two. And then there was a pretty good gap until the third one. And then now such a huge gap between the third and the fourth one. And when this whole project was announced originally, I think they were all four supposed to come out with, just in a couple of years. And now we're looking at the 25th anniversary and they're not all out yet. So
no, it is what it is. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, what's interesting about it to me is in the English version of the promotional image they put out for the movie, it says something like "Goodbye, all of Ava."
Right. Yeah.
And I thought, what does that mean? Does that just mean that this is the end of this is just because this is the end of the film series, or is this like the last Ava thing that they're going to do?
Right. Yeah, I've seen that, and to be honest with you, this is maybe just a little tiny bit of cynicism on my part, but I don't see how they're going to stop making Evangelion. I think there will always be more of it, just like there's always going to be more Star Trek. There's always going to be more Star Wars. They're going to, with these franchises, I think it's very difficult to let them go when they're successful and they have that kind of following. I mean, maybe this will be just the end of this particular chapter, but I don't know. I find that hard to believe that it would be the last one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, let's have to see how it goes. Personally, I'd like to see maybe an anime adaptation of maybe Anima or something. I think that could be cool.
An adaptation of what?
Of Anima, the sort of the alternative version of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, something that I would really like to see would be like a prequel version. I would be interested in that, seeing sort of like the young, like college-aged Akagi, and seeing the young Gendo, the young Yui, the young Yui. Seeing those, I would like to see more about those characters and how all this came about, and take it from that time of like them all meeting at college and then going up to maybe the point, like at least say where like Yui dies. I think that would be really interesting to see that storyline.
That would be cool. I know that they kind of touched on that a little bit in one of the episodes. I think they did like a flashback thing a little bit, but But
Which
exploring,
is that Gendo's name is, I think it was Rokubungi. Like he actually took the name of Ikari from Yui. He took her name. Yeah, so I think it would be interesting to see more about those characters, and we don't really know that much about like the formation of Sele and Nerve and that kind of thing, like how all that stuff came about. I think that would be an interesting storyline to pursue. I think Evangelion fans would like it.
that definitely does sound very interesting. I think, I think having a prequel might be the way to go with it, because I'm not sure what they can do.
Yeah,
after.
Right, exactly. Like yet another alternate version, because you already had End of Evangelion was like an alternate ending, and now we're having these films, which is like a reboot version of what happened. And then, yeah, it's like, how many times are you going to just keep retelling that exact sort of basic story? And I would like to see something different. I just don't know if it's interesting to see them in the future, like what happened when they're grown. I mean, kind of like at the end of the Harry Potter films, they put in that little bit where we glimpse them sort of 20 years in the future, which that was kind of fun. But to see, like a whole series about that or a movie, I don't know if I really want to see that, just for me.
Yeah, I get what you mean there. It's yeah, it'd be a bit strange. I think prequel definitely sounds like the most interesting idea for the show going forward. So I think we've covered pretty much the time span of the show. We've gone from the beginning, we've gone through to the new movies. So I was trying to think, is there anything else we can bring up? Oh, yes, I was going to talk about...
Oh, yes, the story about... Yes.
So I was telling you before we started, so I have this very old End of Ava poster. And this poster is kind of how I first heard about the show, but before I knew what it was. So basically... yeah, before I realized what it was all about. So basically, at my uncle's house, he had two posters. He had that one, and he had the movie poster for Death and Rebirth as well. And I was looking at these, and I had no idea what they were. And I mean, the image of I mean, you can't deny the first time that you see, that image. It's a bit of a, what's the word to say?
Well, I don't know. I would say it's a very jarring image. It certainly has a big impact. Like, it makes you wonder what is going on there.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't realize. I mean, I was wondering what was going on. I thought these two characters, who obviously I didn't know at the time, but obviously they're Asuka and Shinji. I thought that they were like maybe standing on a hill, and then this head was coming up over the hill. But obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know that that's not what it is. And I didn't know what it was all about. And that image in particular, that always stuck with me. And I don't know why I remembered it, because I didn't start watching Ava until probably about 9 or 10 years ago. So I don't know how that still stuck me, because I was very young when I first saw that. And that image always stuck with me, and it must have just been in my mind for a while. And then I suddenly remembered it, and I thought, oh yeah, that was that, because I think I saw it somewhere else maybe. And I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. So then I looked into what it was, and that's how I discovered the series proper, really.
Wow.
So that's quite...
that is a very interesting story, actually, of like how you sort of got pulled into the Ava sphere, the universe of Evangelion. I mean, the first time I became aware of it, I was going to the studio to record something else, and I walked in, and the sound engineer was in there, like mixing or editing, working on the show, and I could see his monitor and that he was working, but I knew that I didn't recognize it. I knew it was a show that I wasn't working on at that time. But of course, Asuka doesn't get introduced until the 8th episode. And back then we would only record 2 episodes at a time. So I came in and like, oh, well, what are you working on? What is that show? What's that about? How come I'm not in that? You know? So I remember I at this point, I couldn't even possibly guess what episode I saw or what he was working on or what he was doing. But that was the first time I ever saw it. And I, never heard the name of it before, didn't know what it was. I mean, it was a brand new show in Japan and didn't really have any international following yet at that. I mean, it barely had a following in Japan. So, yeah. But that's funny that the first way you became aware of it was.
Well, I'd say that I'm glad that I didn't start with that.
Oh yeah.
Because that would have been really bizarre. If
Yeah.
I didn't know that, obviously there was like, a TV series before that.
Right.
I could have gone straight into that thinking, oh, what's this about? And watched it and just been completely just like not having a clue what's going on. There's parts of that. I've seen that film so many times now, and there's parts of it that I still don't understand.
Which is probably intentional, if I'm being honest. And believe it or not, I've met several people before that started off like they didn't know anything about it. And it's like, oh, what is this film? And they start off with Death and Rebirth or End of Evangelion, and that's the first thing that they see. And like, how confusing is that when you haven't seen the TV series? But
Exactly.
usually,
I always say.
I was sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say. I always say the way I do it. If I say to someone, if someone's never seen the show before, the way I say to do it, and it might work for some people, it might not work for others. But the way I say is watch the TV series up until episode 24 and then go straight into End of Ava. I mean, you don't have to do it like that, of course, but that's an interesting way to do it, I think.
Okay. I mean, personally, I like the TV series ending, so I think it's a much more hopeful and uplifting message. But the people that I've met who have just sort of by accident or happenstance, they've watched End of Evangelion first. Most of the time, I think they do end up going back and saying, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then they realize, oh, there's a TV series. And then they'll go back and watch the TV series after that. So usually it, I think, has the effect of getting people to actually watch the whole show and then sort of follow along a bit better then.
I think with the show being on Netflix now, it does make it a lot easier for people to see it, because it was very because Ava's before Netflix, of course. Ava was not the most easy show to find,
right? I mean,
legally, if you know what I mean.
You had to find somebody who had the DVDs, and that was pretty much it. Like, if you couldn't find somebody who had the DVDs, then you were kind of stuck. I mean, you can buy them online, like on eBay. If it's a legitimate copy, it's going to be very expensive. You can obviously bootleg ones for pretty cheap. An interesting thing that I noticed right after the Netflix version came out is that people were actually selling their old VHS collections online for a couple $100s. You know, before that, you'd be lucky if somebody might give you $20 for the whole thing on VHS. But then after the Netflix one came out, and then people were suddenly like selling their VHS collections for hundreds of dollars. So that was incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's yes, especially like you just showed there, the platinum set especially does go for a lot of money. It's very expensive set. What I'm happy about is so we had an online convention. There's a anime distributor here in the UK called Anime Limited. They've got the license to Ava at the moment. It was with Manga UK. It's now with them.
Right. Yeah.
And they had their own convention earlier this year, and for the 20th anniversary in Japan, they had a like a remastered box set of the show come out, and it's taken a long time, but they've basically finally licensed that box set for the West.
Oh, okay.
So next year they're going to be releasing that over here.
Okay. Blu-ray? Will that finally be on Blu-ray?
That's on Blu-ray, yes.
Okay. And is that going to be just the subtitle version, or will that have the English dub on it as well?
I don't know, because they haven't released much information about it. Like, so it was quite funny the way they announced it. So they were doing like their usual thing with like trailers and talking about it and stuff. And then at the end, the guy was like, "Oh, so we've got one more thing to show everyone." And he says, "Oh, I think it's something that people are going to be very happy with." And then the screen cuts to black, and it just says, it's just got the Ava logo, and then it just says Blu-ray 2021, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
That was their announcement. It was just showing the logo.
Wow. Well, that is pretty exciting. I mean, people have been wanting that Blu-ray release in the West for a long time, because it came out years ago on Blu-ray in Japan. Yeah, but you can see, obviously, I don't know anything about it.
No, exactly.
You knew more about it than I did, so.
No, exactly. Well, I think I was at a convention a few years ago, and I actually, because this was probably about a year after it came out in Japan on Blu-ray, and I actually asked a question at the panel. I said, you know, is there a chance that we could get this Blu-ray, you know, in the West? And back then, the answer I got was no. It was just a straight no.
Right.
Because apparently, obviously things must have changed since then. But back then, I was told that Ava was a very expensive show to license.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's definitely part of it. But there's also a muddling of the licenses that has been very problematic for a while, with Gainax having been the original license holder for NGE, and then obviously it's Studio Kara now, and then you had like ADV Films being for many years, they were the exclusive distributor of Evangelion, you know, in the West. So they had that license for many years. And so, yeah, there's all these sort of like overlapping and competing legal issues, I think, that were a barrier to it being released. But that's exciting that it's going to be released on Blu-ray, at least in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know about the US or anything. I don't know. Is it still Funimation that have the license over there?
That's for them. That's the Rebuild movies. That has
they only have the Rebuild movies. Okay.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the TV series. That's just the Rebuild movie.
So is the original series not got a distributor in the US then?
Currently, that is true, as far as I know. I mean, because it was the last distributor in the US was ADV Films, and that, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who it'll be. And as far as I know, I think Netflix just has a license for streaming. I don't know if they have a license for distributing like physical home video content, like a Blu-ray. That is a separate license that has to be purchased separately. So I don't know if they would have done that or not. I mean, it's not really something Netflix is known for, like distributing hard media.
No, you don't see that often, really.
Yeah.
I remember when it got announced for Netflix, and I think a lot of people were like, "Oh my, how much did they pay for that?" kind of thing. You know? It's like, wow, because I don't think anyone was really expecting that. A lot of money, I would have thought.
I'm sure it's a very big number that has a lot of zeros, and it made Hideaki Anno very happy, I'm sure.
I'm sure it did. Yes, I'm sure it did. Okay, so I think we've covered pretty much everything now. So I just want to say thank you very much, Tiffany, for joining me for this talk. It's been a lot of fun, really. I enjoy talking about Ava.
Me too. A long time.
So yeah. So thank you very much for stopping out. So, like I said, so as you're listening to this, it is the anniversary of the show, October the 4th. But we're recording this a bit ahead of time. So yeah, so make sure you're watching Ava and having a good time with it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be celebrating here in the States when it come that day.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay.
Well, which is today, right now, while you're watching this. It's today. So
it's right now. It's right now as you're watching this. It's right now. So thank you very much, Tiffany, for joining me. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Adam.